3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man. One triumph.
Hey everybody, welcome to Temple Podcast. I'm Edgy Pasquale, martial artist and massage therapist. And today I'm sitting with Elyse Feldy. She's a certified holistic health counselor and experienced fitness trainer who specializes in upgrading the human form. She created her own holistic protocol to provide makeovers to humans focused on moods, immunity, energy, and aesthetics. Certified holistic health counselor, trainer, Reiki master, reverend, and licensed cosmetologist. The list goes on. Makeup artist, hairstylist, actress, model, producer, writer. And after focusing on transforming clients full-time since 2009, she got heavily involved in the entertainment industry. And her life is a balance between the worlds of health and entertainment. And it's the life with Genergy. I like that. At Elyse, that's at JENELYSE on Instagram. And at The Life with Genergy, and thelifewithgenergy.com is her website. Facebook is Elyse Feldy if you guys want to connect on all platforms. So how you doing today?
I'm exhausted. As I was telling you before, I don't believe in canceling. Yeah, I don't believe in canceling, so I'm here. But
That's awesome.
I'm pushing myself. So this is good. A lot of people think that that I'm Superwoman, or I don't get tired, or I don't get fat, and I have to work really hard to be in the decent shape that I'm in, and also to have energy to function. So yeah, I'm trying.
Taking care of yourself is like top priority in order to get through all the stuff you have to get through. That's my whole message. Yeah. How'd you get started on this whole train?
Feeling like shit.
Yeah.
How a lot of people get started, they're like, they didn't feel good. They didn't want to feel that way anymore. So they did something about it. But it took me a really long time, I would say. I mean, probably looking at me, most people would say I was in shape most of my life, except from 2011, where I was disabled and really out of shape. But really, it's a really long answer. I modeled since 6th grade, and even as a baby, my headshots were shown. So I was kind of always had a little foot in the door, a dip toe in the water with modeling. So I've always been conscious about aesthetics. And then I guess simply put, I really felt so tired since probably middle school. And I went to Jericho High School, which I pulled all-nighters in 7th grade. And I thought I had to get A+. So I kind of was a Wall Street burnout by 11th grade. And really, I was suicidally depressed in 11th, beyond probably middle school, 11th grade, and so tired. And eating healthy, I thought I was eating healthy, but I didn't discover that I really wasn't eating healthy until probably around 25, 26, 27. I really saw that.
So what do you think is what was your idea of healthy eating, and what is it now?
Yeah, I wanted to stop myself because I can keep going. That's really long. But there's a lot of misinformation out there. So that's one reason why I'm so passionate about sharing the protocol that I created. But what I thought was healthy is what a lot of clients and friends and people come to me, and I'm sure to you, and they think it's healthy having frozen yogurt. We kind of know, but back in the day, frozen yogurt was kind of in vogue. People that thought they were being super healthy, oh, I'm gonna get frozen yogurt. They thought it was healthy. So that was one thing I was poisoning myself with. I got addicted to that, like a drug addict since middle school. So frozen yogurt, grilled chicken salad. We can kind of do better than that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, wait, let me show you.
Of course. I love that we're in the kitchen. This is awesome. So people, if you're not on the YouTube, go to YouTube and watch.
You like my outfit too? My outfit's for me, and then it's podcast. Because I was like, oh, we're doing waist up, so who cares?
We match. I'm in Adidas pants. I'm just not getting up right now.
Have to. I'm all about humiliating myself on camera. That's part of my joie de vivre. So grilled chicken salad, I just came from a set. I did makeup on a set, and a grilled chicken salad, which is a super basic thing that a lot of people that are tired think is really healthy, but we can do
There's
better
more
than
to
that.
it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's super basic, bitch, the grilled chicken salad. And thank you, Chris Cardona, for giving this to me. I super appreciate him ordering that and everyone else with sandwiches. So super thankful. Please don't think I'm not thankful. But as far as energy, having symptoms of fibromyalgia and arthritis and chronic fatigue, if you think you're being healthy having a grilled chicken salad, you might run into some trouble. You can do better than that.
I
So
definitely can relate to times when I used to be really heavy, and then times when I was trying to like lose weight and I wasn't eating any of the foods I was normally eating. I'm just like eating salads and skipping breakfast. But that old idea of removing fat as this, that's what makes it healthy, is it's low fat.
right,
It's got
right.
a lower fat content, lower caloric intake, something like that. But really the idea, it's you need enough calories to get through the day. And if you don't if you don't take in enough calories, your body won't rid itself of the fat. It's a common misconception people make. They go with low fat, they go with frozen yogurt, they torture themselves with 3 weeks only eating grilled chicken salad with nothing on it, but like maybe a little balsamic, and like that's it. And they get bored and they go back to eating the way that they were eating.
They get bored, and they're also undernourished because with superfoods becoming in vogue, like I feel like around 10 years ago, around the Instagram and Facebook time, 2010, I mean, the health Facebook, we started seeing superfoods. So all these high nutrients, people started learning it, started being trending, and you're not really getting that many nutrients in a grilled chicken salad. We
No,
could do better, people.
it's a
Another,
good snack. It's a
what
nice
year,
lunch, but it's not everything.
what year were you born in?
89.
Okay, so I'm 84, so the low fat thing, what you were saying, that was from
Absolutely.
watching, that was, if you're 30 or older, that the whole low fat thing was really big, and that's
I'm
been
31, so
debunked.
all through the 90s and into the early 2000s, like that was all it was low fat. I didn't discover any kind of superfoods until I was already doing martial arts. I was doing
Mm-hmm.
martial arts. I was trying to quit smoking. I was trying to, be healthier so that I could do this thing. My body wasn't capable of doing it. So I was like, okay, how do I change my body so that I can do this thing that I think is awesome? And I discovered Rock and Wellness was the first thing I ever discovered.
Oh,
You hear them?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
They were
thinking
the
that.
first thing I ever discovered. So like that's how my journey kind of started. I started doing a Rock and Wellness shake every day or
Okay.
every other day. And like I noticed the difference. And then I kind of went from there and climbed up to the diving board and just dove in head first,
The one thing I'm not bashing rock and rollers, and I'm not bashing cacao. I actually had cacao this
There's
morning.
too much sugar in that.
No. Cacao itself doesn't have sugar. Maybe rock and wellness,
Rock and
but
Wellness itself, I mean.
any product like rock and wellness or just taking straight cacao, this has happened to me so many times. I've taken it maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row, and then I'll tap out almost like a drug addict. Like you can think like getting another hit. You can tap out and burn yourself out with cacao. So you got to be really careful if you're doing cacao as a supplement.
I've actually never heard that before. Why is that?
Well, it's a major stimulant, really simply put, so we don't, get into a whole cacao talk too much, but, well, I guess we could. And it's major stimulants.
Talk
It's
about
like
whatever
becoming a drug addict, with coffee, or, this has happened to me with Starbucks. It's happened to me with different types of cacao products where I'll be on this, it's almost like an upswing, like the COVID curve, where I'll be going up and I'll be feeling good and working out. And I'm like, yeah, I have so much energy, because cacao is a major stimulant. It's actually been said on some websites I researched back in 2012 when I had a crash after 2.5 years of probably abusing cacao as a stimulant to keep going. I found that it might be more addictive than cocaine. And I mean, I've only tried cocaine 5 times, so I don't really know about the addictiveness, but with cacao, yeah, it's a major stimulant. So whatever's going to take you up, you're going to drop down, right? So
Right.
the body can't just keep going. Where does this energy come from? It doesn't come from thin air. So when we're highly nourished with green juices and watermelon, I have watermelon here, we can kind of keep going. But when we have stimulants like coffee, cacao, green tea, which give us some nutrients, but it's really just a stimulant effect, we're burning out our liver, our adrenals, our thyroid. Eventually, we're going to keep dipping into the resources of energy, kind of, and tap out. So you got to be really careful when we're taking stimulants.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people still don't see that and then see it as a stimulant, even though cacao is the same plant that cocaine comes from. You know, I believe it is. It is the same
Don't
plant, just a different part of the plant, right? No.
you know what? I've never made my own. I make my own edibles, marijuana edibles. I'm not a connoisseur of the cocaine. I think it's the coca leaf. I think it's totally different.
It is.
I,
Is it different? I thought it was the same thing that.
I'm pretty sure if
I
I
mean, I
have to
hope
look
it's
it back
different.
right now, it's the cacao is from the cacao plant, the cacao
Right.
bean, and I don't
And then it's coca
believe
for
it's
the.
cocaine.
But it's still that same like. Is it that it's caffeinated? Is cacao caffeinated, or is it just it's in and of itself a stimulant?
Not caffeinated. I could be wrong because I'm always open to being wrong, but I'm pretty sure that cacao, the stimulants are theobromine and anandamide, which are extremely powerful stimulants. There's so many stimulants more outside the world of caffeine. I don't believe there's any caffeine. If you have maybe a hot chocolate, there might be caffeine in it because
Right.
it's a whole elixir of ingredients. But cacao itself, I don't believe there's any caffeine in that.
It is itself well, it contains stimulants within and outside of the family of caffeine or anything like that. That's okay. That's really cool. I actually didn't know that. That could explain a lot too, because I feel like it's important for people who have addictive personalities, who have struggled with stuff like that in the past, as I have, to understand that when you start getting into feeling better, that in and of itself becomes addictive and becomes a drug, and then you kind of replace your bad habits with the superfood or the healthy food or the taking too much. I used to have a habit. My set just fell. I used to have a habit of taking taking so many scoops of different stuff and making these ridiculous shakes.
Me
And
too.
they would be terrible. They would
Wait,
taste awful. And
what would you do?
I would have like Rock and Wellness and then
Okay.
protein on top of it, and then maybe like some kind of like mushrooms powder just to like maybe I'll cover up the taste and everything because I want it all in one shot and I want to get it in
Right.
before I get to the gym, and like yeah, it was way too much. You got to learn to like let your body kind of take in nutrients and do it slowly, and that it takes time. Excuse me while I repair my set over here.
Yeah, you
My
can
my
kind of
my
overdose.
my high no, it's okay. We're doing it raw. We're doing it rugged and raw. I don't know if you knew I don't know if you saw any of like my posts from the past few months, but I actually did everything for this is the first podcast I'm doing with a computer. My Mac died as I started everything. So I built all the social media presence, like I did everything. I downloaded you ever heard of Canva?
Yes.
You can make your own graphics on there. I'm not a graphic designer, but I figured out a way to keep it low cost and to just do the best that I could do until I could finally get my computer repaired. This is the first interview I'm doing like with the good mic, with good lighting, with the computer. So I'm all about doing what you can with what you have. That's like I don't try to pretend to be super successful or like super in shape or anything like that. I love what I talk about what I love, and I hope that I infect people the same way it infected me,
Like the coronavirus?
Like the coronavirus, exactly. I'm just trying to spread a pandemic of fitness and wealth and health.
I
You know
like
what
that.
I mean? Trying to make that this whole situation really should have been a wake up call for people to start taking care of themselves. I don't know if you on the Rogan podcast he had Dr. Rhonda Patrick on another episode. I love
listened
her.
to that like 2.5 times. Yeah, my boyfriend was a big fan. He said she sounded ditzy, though my ex-boyfriend now. And I was like, she reminds me of a teacher I had at American University who sounded really ditzy. And
She knew her
was
stuff.
a genius. She, Dr. Deborah Norris, I'm sorry if you're listening, but she looked like an older Heidi Klum. She kind of looked like surfery, and she sounded a little ditzy, but I have to say, I think she was the most intelligent teacher I had at American University, and she worked at NIH, and she even tried to find something like a naloxone, I believe, where they have something where if you were addicted to alcohol and addicted to heroin, it can blocks that. There's naloxone and then there's methadone, and she was trying to make one for cocaine. So if you're addicted to cocaine, you take something and then, but at the time, back in 2004, they couldn't find one. I mean, the woman was brilliant. So
right.
for me,
I get it.
I'm all about the ditzy girls that might sound a little ditzy having something up their sleeve.
Well, I mean, you not everybody is like you know, not everybody knows how to get up there and make this like stone-faced speech, or like, you know, knows how to act the whole time and not be themselves. Like, that's why, you know, I can't be me. And then if you got a script in front of me and I know what I'm saying, like, great. But like, I can't be me and then not let, you know, a curse word slip out here or there, or like not know what I'm talking about. I don't have research in front of me. I don't have numbers in front of me. I don't have, you know, papers in front of me to fact check everything. I might not remember. I'm not going to
Well,
go back,
that's
you
the end
know?
of our podcast, because I have no use for you if you don't have
All
papers
right.
and
All right. Well, you know what? Screw it. I'll see you later. No, but yeah, no. So she was going off about vitamin D and how vitamin D affects your immune system and gets, you know, turns into a hormone. I never knew that. I found that so interesting.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and that's also why it's affecting, because a friend of mine is a nurse in the Port Jeff Stony Brook area. I won't say exactly what hospital, but she's a nurse up there, and they had heavy deaths of from the African American and from like the Hispanic community in the area. And and she was like, we don't know why. You know, she's like, we don't know why, but she's like, for some reason, it's hitting those communities really hard. And that most of the deaths in that hospital, if I'm not mistaken, most of the deaths in that hospital were of those communities. Cut to the Dr. Rhonda Patrick interview, melanin in the skin prohibits you from creating vitamin D. So if you're and again, quarantined inside now we're all inside the house. People are afraid to go outside. You see people that are reasonlessly driving with their masks on because they're living in such fear of this virus, like it's airborne. And you have to, I'm not saying that it's not real, but I'm saying pay attention to the facts and relax a little bit. You know, go outside in your backyard. You're not going to catch it in your backyard. You're not going to catch it 12 feet away from somebody in a park. You know, go for a walk, go do something, get some sunlight. The vitamin D is so unbelievably important. And now what that shows, because she's not like a physician, she's a research doctor. She's, you know, she that's what she does. She doesn't treat people. She works in the laboratory.
Right.
And now the research is coming out to show and prove that being outside is what we're missing, you know? Being active and being outside is what we're missing. So many people that are getting sick, not even just from coronavirus, just in general. People, you're living sick, you know? You want to add life to your years and not, you know what I mean? You don't want to add years onto your life. You want that too, but like, what's the point of living to 120 if you're miserable the entire time? You know, take care of yourself now.
Get some sunlight. Always good to get some sunlight. This is very controversial. This is not what I'm recommending, but I have gone tanning probably 8 times or so in my life during the winter. And if I get a little bit of shot, I'm sure some of it's placebo, but it is a very controversial recommendation from some doctors for depression, for metabolism, for mood. Everything shifts. And as soon as I get sunlight, even if it's for 20 minutes, I notice that my food cravings change. Sleep, I am able to go to sleep a little earlier, stay asleep maybe a little bit longer. My whole mental state changes. So just for mood alone, the sun is incredible. And then getting for your immune system, I seem to be able to get alcohol, be able to take alcohol and drink it and not have the worst hangovers and not get sick in the summer. So I'm not really sure, but maybe sunlight has to do with that.
I think part of that is also general hydration and nutrition. Like if you take care of yourself, and you, one of my previous interviews with Alexandra Bernard, she talked about her 80-20 lifestyle, and I thought that was interesting. I might not necessarily agree with those numbers entirely, you know, like because that really does mean like 5 days a week you're on point, and then on the weekends you're off, and you know, that might work great. That might work great when you're 24. You know what I mean? But I'm 31, and I can't, you know, I can't fuck off every weekend and party and drink like that. Or, you know, but if once every couple of weeks I have a few drinks, I'm fine. You know, I first of all, I'm old enough to know my limits, but at the same time, like if you're taking care of yourself and then you go off the deep end once, you're fine, you know? And the same thing for idea of the 80-20 lifestyle, you know, I get the numbers. I would say like 90-10. I would say much more like
what? Everyone's different. Some people can do like 70-30, 80-20, feel great and eat pizza every 2 days and feel great. Like the guy I work out with, we work out twice a week. He has pizza probably like 4 days a week. If I have pizza 1 day a week, I'm recovering. Mentally, I just don't function. I can't even speak. I would have to cancel because cognitively I slow down so much that I can barely even speak. So we're all a little different.
I have to get Frankie on the show because when we were kids, he was the person that kind of like, I didn't think that anything like that could be a problem. And then I watched him kind of go through it. I don't know if he's ever told you about it, but when we were kids, he used to suffer from chronic fatigue and brain fog, and he couldn't remember stuff. And he was very smart, but would then like not do tremendous in school or like not care as much. You know what I mean? Or not remember stuff, or I would show up to his house. We were supposed to hang out at 1 o'clock and it's 2 o'clock and he's still sleeping and he's not going to be up until 5, you know, like then he found out he had a gluten intolerance, and then everybody told him he was crazy. And then he was the first person I ever met that was gluten free. And this is 2008. So it was before it was popular.
I think he also said he had vaccine injury as well. I
Yes.
mean, I think he's open about that. So I hope that's okay.
Yeah, no, Frankie is not afraid of it. He'll probably be happy that we're talking about him and spreading him. But
good.
yeah, he was definitely damaged by vaccines. I don't know if I was. I do know that medication definitely. I didn't have psoriasis until I was 23, and everyone's like, "You had to have had psoriasis," and it's like, "No, dude, I didn't," and I have the pictures to prove it. Like I had what, like maybe some eczema on my elbows, which most people, especially with my complexion, do. You know, like I'm very white. Very, very loose leaf white. But I took not Concerta. God, what's it? It's with a C. It's to quit smoking. Chantix.
Oh, okay.
I took Chantix.
Ray, what's his name? The actor, Ray. I forgot.
Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
Ray Liotta from Goodfellas. Yeah, I know. I can't. I can't see him in a commercial and not just picture like, you flushed it? How much did you flush? Like I can't see him and not see Goodfellas in my head, but regardless. So yeah, it was Ray Liotta, but I took Chantix and they told me that my, can't hear me? Can you hear me?
That's weird.
Can you hear me?
I was muted and you were muted. That's weird.
Yeah, that was really strange. Well,
okay.
That's okay. We recovered from it. It's fine. There was a second of dead air. People hang on. No, what was I saying? So yeah, no, I took Chantix and then all of a sudden my skin exploded. And then I went back and forth to different dermatologists. They put me on, they had no idea what was wrong with me. They put me on scabies treatments. They gave me steroids. I had to go to 4 dermatologists before somebody said you have guttate psoriasis, which is like out of the people who have psoriasis, 2% of those people have guttate psoriasis. You know? So, and then it's been, doctors are also baffled because psoriasis is supposed to come and go. You're supposed to have flare-ups and then it goes. But mine is on me like a continent. Like that, it's just where it is. And it's an autoimmune condition. So it never, but I know I have a barometer of what I can and can't put in my body. And I think that was triggered by this medication. And they told me I was crazy. Every doctor I went to told me I was nuts, which is why now I don't really trust Western medicine. And like and I'm sure you'll agree with me, when somebody's trying to tell me that I have to take a vaccine, I'm going to have a huge problem with that. Enormous problem with that.
Well, don't you want to take a coronavirus vaccine that was just made and we don't have like 4 or 5 years to see what happens? It sounds like a great idea.
I mean, it sounds like a terrible idea, especially when it messes with your RNA, you know, just the thing that makes new cells for you. That's fine, you know?
Well, we could all use a little help with our RNA, so, you know.
Yeah. What's an addition or a snip into it? Nothing will happen. Nothing bad could possibly come from that.
Yeah, that's one topic I usually don't go too into, just because I'm kind of waiting. I'm kind of waiting for more people to get on the same page. I feel like in the next 2 to 15 years, we're going to have a lot of different opinions and a lot of different things are going to come out of the woodwork. So I'm kind of just like waiting for that to happen, and then I'll talk. And then I'm going to give all my examples.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to say what I'm thinking, but I will disclaimer everything with, I'm not an expert, I don't know everything, and it's all just me figuring it out loud. That's the guinea in me.
Well, I'll give one example.
Sure.
One example of many, right? So one right behind me, and my dad lives 5 houses down the street. In my childhood bedroom, where I was tired after having frozen yogurt, I had to take a nap every time I'd have frozen yogurt, and I figured that out 10 years later.
Right.
Because I had frozen yogurt when I came into the town, into New York. I would have frozen yogurt and I'd have to lie down. I was like, oh my God, maybe I wasn't really depressed as a kid. It was frozen yogurt. So anyway, in my childhood bedroom is my stepbrother, and he's autistic, and he stopped speaking the day after he took the MMR vaccine. And I directly firsthand know a few other stories like that. So now he's 26, I believe, maybe 27, and he's autistic. He's very happy, luckily, most days. But, you know, I even have a client too that she has all these different very common symptoms after the MMR vaccine. She's not diagnosed as autistic, but she's got a lot of things going on. It's the day after. So it's probably just a coincidence that the day after taking the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, all these people I know, their lives are just changed. Probably coincidence.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's.
I'll leave it. But to do it right,
one could have absolutely nothing to do with the other. And now I'm not saying I'm 100% absolute anti-vaccine either. I just don't think. I think we put too much faith in this stuff. I think we put too much faith in ingesting something and having that be the solution to our problems than being held accountable with how we take care of ourselves and how we treat the outside world and the outside environment.
You gotta be accountable to be 100% faithful in anything. And I do have a family member that used to work for this EDC, and he was told that the vaccines are dirty and don't take them a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean,
but I'd rather have that person on later when they feel free to speak. And I'd rather get my stepbrother on and his mom on and have these people show for themselves.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to talk to them about that. That would be great. That would be tremendous. That would be probably after I get another microphone, we can do something in person with that. But I'm
gonna wait. I'm gonna wait because otherwise they're gonna be destroyed or slandered or
yeah. No, you gotta. We have to see how this is gonna play out. I really wonder how it's gonna be for the planet next year. Like I really wonder what it's gonna look like this time next year. Especially like being a teacher in a martial arts school. It's strange because we can just we've been training the traditional movement. You know what I mean? Which is great. And then if you're living in a household with somebody, or if you're comfortable, like I'm lucky enough to have a few of my training brothers and sisters that and my girlfriend trains with me, so I work with her all the time. But so I'm lucky that way. But there's so many other people out there that this is what we do. It's part of your identity. It's part of who you are. And you realize the fighting isn't about violence. It's about overcoming yourself. You're your own worst enemy. And the better that you can do there, the better you've worked on that skill. It's about skill. It's not about brawling. Because none of us want CTS. It's not like we're all trying to kill each other when we spar either. The golden rule is hit as hard as you want to get hit. So sometimes you hit kind of hard, but sometimes, so it's not like we're out there trying to kill each other. That's not the point. The point is that you're developing this skill, and now there's this piece of it that you are not allowed to work anymore, So it's interesting, this shift and this transition and this desire to get back to the way things are. And hopefully, if we can all take care of ourselves, and I don't see how people think it's not possible to make yourself so strong that it won't affect you.
Right.
There's if your immune system is strong, then it should be eradicated before it gets anywhere. It should be eradicated before it takes root. But I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I don't know everything. It just seems that we can build up our own defenses, and we can protect ourselves from outside influence. Well, not outside influence, but outside attack in that way. What do you do for yourself that keeps you? Because I know you're around people a lot of the time. You're working on set. You're working with clients.
Right. Well, just to give, I'm really not quarantining anymore. And just simply put, I had an essential worker living here who basically was licking the subways during the day. So if you have someone who's licking the subway floor in your house and then licking my face, chances are I was exposed to all of it. So I'm not quarantining really at all. And I just got back from a set, and I'm going to be with a lot of different actors and producers tonight. So yes, I'm around a lot of people. What do? I do a lot. I really try to stay away from, a lot of people focus on what to stay away from, and that's part of it, but we can't get too wrapped in it. A lot of people say, oh, I eat so healthy. I don't have sugar. I don't have this. And it's like, well, what are you doing? And a lot of times when the focus is what I'm not doing, what I'm avoiding, a lot of times there's not enough good stuff in. So it's good to have both, know what to stay away from, and also adding in. I focus more on adding in. So just before, I had a watermelon. Watermelon has natural vitamin E. If you take vitamin E, that might not be so healthy for you, so I don't recommend supplementing with vitamin E. But watermelon citrulline as well, which is good for men, good for your libido, your sex drive. It's also pretty low cal and very cleansing for the kidneys. So we want to cleanse those kidneys, especially if you're taking supplements. Most people are, that I know. Even like a green powder is still concentrated. Anything dried and concentrated, it's going to be harder on your kidneys and your liver. So we want to make sure you have kidney cleansers. So I try to do watermelon all summer. Eating seasonally is a great one. Very long plan. I have mint and fennel from my garden that I blended up, and I made ice cubes out of them. And I put the ice cubes in water. So I show this a lot. So anyone that's seen,
this is exactly, everybody who's listening, this is exactly what her Instagram is like. So this is perfect. It's like long form version of exactly what I'm trying to promote from you. Like this is why I like to follow you. So what are those?
So these are sprout cubes. I get sprout deliveries. I get a whole bunch of sprouts delivered every week from Don's Finest. Shout out to Don Sprouts, Donnie Greens. And I blend them up because I just don't feel like eating them. And I put them into, it's just water and sprouts. And I put them in ice cube trays. And then after the ice cubes freeze, then I put them in a bag. And then every time I want some sprouts, I put them in water. I'll do that right now because the stuff from the set today, I brought these to set. So today I brought wheatgrass cubes and sprout cubes, 2 set. Gives you a lot of energy. Supposedly people who are autistic or on the spectrum, we're all on the spectrum somewhere, function better with sprouts and sulfur foods, getting foods with sulfur. So those are some things I do. I put a little bit of coconut oil and cacao into my coffee earlier, just to have a little more staying power because I didn't really feel like eating on set. There's a lot. I mean, I'm like a mad scientist the way I eat, so the answer is really long. But those are some things I do.
Yeah, I feel like that's how it gets. There's so many levels to get into, and I think people are really intimidated and feel like in order to be healthy, you have to be that wild about it. But you don't. But what ends up happening, I say to everybody, it's like you end up falling in love with it. So you don't have to go that road, and you don't have to start by throwing away your entire kitchen and then like buying all this stuff. But you try things little by little, and then over time you just start slowly replacing all the old things with the new,
I mean, everyone's different. So I have some clients, I'm like, yo, if you feel like you want to go hard and you want to go all into it, then great. But what I recommend is just 1 to 8 changes a week. And a change can be like, oh, I'm going to have sprouts, or oh, I'm going to have tea maybe instead of coffee, or I'm going to start walking. Those are 3 changes right there. So I recommend take it slow so it all adds up and it's cumulative. But maybe you want to go hard. You see how you feel. Everyone's a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. It also depends on like how slow your body's changing. Like I'm working with somebody right now who's a Kung Fu student and also a massage client. So I do traditional massage therapy, but I don't charge extra for different modalities or like try to upsell people on like deep tissue or Thai or stretching or sports or this or that. People look for like the only reason I charge extra for cupping is because it takes me more time because now I have to clean and use equipment. The only thing I'm charging extra for cupping is the fact that like now I have to clean and sterilize everything again, use my cleaning use product in order to clean it, and then probably extend your treatment 5 to 10 minutes so that you can get the best out of it. The other thing is like when you go to a chain place and you go to Hand and Stone, I'm going on a rant now, but like I didn't like working at that kind of place because like you get a 50-minute session, but that 50 minutes is also you walking into the door, checking in, going in, talking to me figuring out what's wrong with you, me doing an assessment, me doing a postural assessment, getting you on the table, leaving, washing my hands, coming in, and then you only get like a 35-40-minute treatment and then you have to leave. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you're not getting what you pay for. So my hour treatment is 60 minutes on the table, and I book around my initial assessment. I book an extra 15 minutes that I don't charge for initial treatments, And so this is a person who was an old friend of mine who decided to start working with me. And you know, we've gotten him to a point now where he was in excruciating knee pain and couldn't do, because Kung Fu requires a lot of low stance work, and it's all the fine articulation between the knees and the hips. That's really where a lot of the power in Kung Fu comes from. It's the relationship between the ankles, knees, and hips. And so with knee problems, I myself having them, I understand it can be very difficult. And his cardio was there. He was over 300 pounds when we started training him. Now I think he's down to 280. And, you know, now it's not knee pain. Now it's muscle exhaustion that he's, you know, that's his struggle now. So he's getting so much stronger just from adopting and financially dedicating himself to making himself better. You know what I mean? Recovering from where he was and taking it step by step and day by day. You know, I wrote him a small program, like a small exercise program, and like 3 different workout splits. And I was like, you can always research something else that's in this muscle group, or text me and just make it fun for yourself. Do what you got to do, work when you can, and know to recover and to avoid these things and drink more water and take in more healthy foods, you know? And just in the few months of working with a person like that, like the change is astronomical. Like but the point is, you yourself being the person on the other end, like I see so much change in his progress. I see so much change in his progress. He, on the other hand, may not see that change as rapidly because he's living in his body every single day. And now it's the frustration of, well, my joint doesn't hurt anymore, but now my leg's not strong enough to keep me up. Not saying, if you're listening, not saying that that's how you are. I'm just using it as an example. But you know, and that can also frustrate people and turn them off from this idea. Like, you have to spend $4,000 on supplements and equipment and greens and sprouts and butcher box and, you know, like whatever it is that you're going to end up doing. And it really doesn't have to be that way.
No, it can be as simple as just go to the farmer's market and spend maybe $70 a week on fruits and vegetables. Maybe get some meats here and there. For the summer, you don't have to have that many meats, so you can eat pretty cheaply over the summer.
Yeah, well, depending again on your workload and what it is that you're doing and like how it is you're training. You know, if you're doing a lot of heavy muscle breakdown, you're going to need the protein to get it back. And I'm not really one for veganism or vegetarianism. I was a vegetarian for 4.5 years, and all I did was make myself sick. Those, and you know, I have friends who will get mad at me for saying that, who will whatever, but I'm just talking from my own personal experience. I know I wasn't the healthiest person on earth back in those days, but like at the same time, the difference and that the energy allowed me, you know, like what having the energy and the recovery and the muscle building from eating meat again allowed me to accomplish is why I'm as healthy as I am now. You know what I mean?
Now I feel steak and chicken in my refrigerator.
Yeah.
How many days at a time would you do no animal products for?
I'm sorry?
How many days at a time would you go with no animal products?
I mean, like 4 years. I mean, I wasn't ever vegan. I was vegetarian, so I just didn't eat any meat. I had dairy, I had pizza. You know what I mean? That's the whole like vegetarian trope, is that like you end up living on pizza for the first year, which is 100% true. Become completely, you know, like if you don't know what you're doing, like I became completely carb dependent. I wasn't getting enough protein, and then I didn't want to have whey protein powder, and then I didn't like protein powder, and then you know, like it didn't work. And it just didn't work.
Knucklehead vegan.
Yes.
Can't have whey. Give me pizza. Like,
yeah. No. It was really not good. It was really not good. Yeah.
But you get it, and now you can help people because you've been there and you've done some knucklehead things as well as I have.
Oh, 100%. And I don't hide any of it. I don't hide any of it. What's the point? What's the point in like pretending that you're somebody that you're not? You know what I mean? Like I've made a shitload of grave errors along the way, and now I'm here, you know, and now I'm here I feel comfortable enough to talk to other people about where I've been to kind of help them get to where they want to go, you know?
Yeah, and it all comes out. People can feel, and I think the truth always comes out, and we're seeing that this year. A lot of people are tumbling. The truths from 20, 30 years ago are coming out. So just be real.
The Pentagon said that UFOs are vehicles not made on this earth. I don't know like how why people aren't going insane about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't really followed up aliens. So I have one friend that has an alien website, and I haven't been checking his posts recently. I've just been off, but I did hear. What can you fill us in on what exactly is going on with the alien community right now?
Listen, it's difficult to find a lot of the information and know what you're looking at is 100% correct, but the Pentagon, this is as far as I'll go because this is as far as I know for fact. The
Okay.
Pentagon told, I think it was either the Washington Post or the New York Times that released the article, that it was very short. It was a very short article, but just said that the Pentagon has identified UFOs as vehicles not made on this Earth. So if they know it's a vehicle and it wasn't made here, who made it and who flew the damn thing? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's basically the Pentagon being like, hey guys, coronavirus is cool, but there's also aliens, and we just figured we'd tell you at a time when you'll definitely forget.
Yeah. I wonder if there was a reason to unleash that info now. I wonder.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting time. I'm kind of enjoying it. Minus like the rattling of my spine, because honestly, when I get like nervous or fearful, I feel it at the base of my spine. Like I think of people I don't trust or shiesty people, which I deal with a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get like this uncertainty in the lower base, and I just feel like So that's why I gotta just tune out and stay in my little bubble, my little Howard Hughes bubble, I'm calling it. He's my role model, by the way.
Howard Hughes?
Yeah, because
I don't know a lot about Howard Hughes.
Well, I said it's one of my friends and clients. I was like, I'm kind of just staying in my own lane. He's like, what are you, Howard Hughes? So I ended up watching a documentary and fixating on him for hours. And then the next day, I talk about synchronicity, if you believe in that or not. I get invited to a party, and I get the bio of the person throwing the party, and it sounds like Howard Hughes, who was a famous, successful aviator and filmmaker. And that's whose house I was invited to like 11 hours later. But basically, he isolated. He was crazy. I think he was a drug addict. He was very OCD clean, made people wipe the handles of things before he opened doors. And he isolated, but he made films, and he clearly focused on what he needed to. So that's where my head's at lately.
Yeah, I mean, who cares about what everybody is saying around you if what you're doing is working? You know what I mean?
I think that that's really the key, back to talking about health right now. A lot of people, we were saying, what are some keys to health? And I have to say, I wouldn't give this advice, or I wouldn't talk about what I think is working for me and a lot of people last year. But right now, I think a key is kind of just to stay in your own lane and focus on the things that make a difference in your world, and maybe not be so out in the ether with all different types of people and the media right now. Maybe it's not the time to go outward so much, since the world's a little bit crazy, and just take this time to focus on the things that you can really do yourself.
Do you have a meditation practice? Like, do you regularly meditate?
No, I have things that are meditative that I do, a lot of like decompressing and resting, but meditation itself, no, that's one thing I probably should do.
It's paramount. I mean, it's absolutely, I mean, for me, it's paramount, but like that is also for me the vehicle that kind of allowed me to change in the ways that I needed to change in order to be who become who I want to become. Meditation has definitely, I suffer from, I suffer from ADHD and depression and anxiety, and I don't say it a lot because people tend to be like, what about the people who have to take medication? But like, I'm supposed to, and like, fuck that. I'm not taking a pill that's going to change who I am. I'm going to see the problems that I have, and I'm going to do everything I can to fix them. And I've been obsessed with that for upwards of 6 years. Now I fell off from the other side. That's fine. So I've been obsessed with that for about 6 years. And, in high school, I was put on, this is where Concerta came from. I was put on Concerta for ADHD. And sure, it helped me read. It helped me sit and focus on a book, but that's all I could do. I didn't feel like me. And they said that suicidal tendencies were a side effect. And I was like, if I'm already suffering from those kinds of thoughts, why am I going to take a pill that's like, hey, might make it worse? I might actually up and do it then,
Yeah.
And that's what I was afraid of. I'm sorry?
Yeah, Concerta I think can help anyone. One of my friends, dad's a psychologist and or psychiatrist, one of those, and he said, well, yeah, everyone functions better on amphetamines. That's not true, but I mean, a lot of people do.
Well, I mean, it's like
you give a lot of
steroids.
people
It's
amphetamines, they're
steroids
gonna
for your
think,
brain.
yeah.
Yeah, it's steroids for your brain. If I was in the middle of training, I don't know if you can still hear me while I fix this.
Yes.
If I was in the middle of training and I did all these things and made all these accomplishments and won all these competitions, and then you found out later that I was doing anabolic steroids, you would tell me that I was a cheater. But if you can make all these academic achievements and you can do all these things and you can take basically steroids for your brain, like, it depends on the level. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I know that some people may need something, especially with like antipsychotics and antidepressants and stuff like that. Maybe, yeah, absolutely, you need to be on something. But if you are well enough that you can try a different avenue, try it.
Right.
You know?
Always try what's natural or what's with the least side effects, because a lot of things are natural and not healthy. But if you can choose one thing, like garlic or oregano oil, to knock out a cold or to maybe knock out the first signs of a sore throat, it's probably better than taking antibiotics, which have proven side effects.
The first thing I did when the pandemic hit was buy droplets of oregano oil. That was the first thing I did.
Capsules go down a lot easier.
Capsules go down a lot easier, but the droplets, I just power through it. I just put 4 under my tongue and I just let it sizzle.
I used to do that, and then I'm like, what am I doing? I'll just take a capsule. This is a lot less painful. Because
I'm a crazy person.
With apple cider vinegar.
That's what I would do a shot of it with. I would take apple cider vinegar and a cup of water and a scoop of greens, mix it all up, do my oregano oil, let it sit, take a shot of that, boom, there you go.
Yeah. Back in the day. So if anyone listening that isn't a masochist,
you don't have to do it that way.
Yeah, you can take cold oregano oil. And then there's apple cider vinegar. They have like these gummies with apple cider vinegar. Sorry, it's BS. It has sugar. It's not the same effect. Apple cider vinegar, one will clear you right out. I notice I can see almost better and focus better. Those gummies don't do the same thing.
No, you need from the mother. You need from the mother, apple cider vinegar.
What about the father? What about the patriarchy?
I don't know. I'm not sure what his involvement was in the raising of the apple cider vinegar, but apparently the mother is the important relationship. The father, I'm not sure where he ran off to. You know, it's probably one of those stories, unfortunately.
We hear all this talk about the apple cider vinegar with the mother, but where's the father?
I think with the mother just means it's like got the pulp in it, right? Or it's got
it has
really
the SCOBY, I believe. That
SCOBY, okay,
mucus looking thing.
Yeah, live bacteria essentially.
Yeah,
I wanted to get into making my own kombucha. My aunt at one time not emailed me. That's dumb, Ed. She mailed me a SCOBY, and I got this she mailed me this Tupperware. I'm like, hey, figured I had a SCOBY. Like, I don't know if you wanted to start making your own kombucha, but by the time I looked into what equipment I would need and figured out exactly how to make kombucha and figure out where I'd put the stuff, the SCOBY died. And then the dream died with it, you know? You can always
also, I've heard stories of people getting really sick and dying off of poorly made kombucha. So that's when you want to be really careful.
Yeah. A friend of mine that I worked with when I worked at Starbucks, he was the assistant manager the manager at the Tivana in Smith Haven before it closed. And he was really into tea. Like, before Starbucks shut down Tivana, he was going for I felt so bad for him. Like, he had this dream. He loved the history and just the process, and he just loved tea. He was just a nerd about tea, you know. You know, it was good for him, you know. And he's a stand-up, and he loved that. But then they dissolved Tivana. Yeah, good for him. They dissolved Tivana, and he unfortunately didn't get to pursue this dream of being the guy that travels the world to go try teas for Tivana. He was looking into getting that job and applying for it and stuff. I think he was slated to get the job, and then they dissolved Tivana on him. So there that went. But he makes his own kombucha, and I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Dude, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's way more work than it looks like. You can watch a YouTube video and they just show you like pouring some sugar in some black tea and putting some bacteria in it and leave it in a closet for 2 weeks and you'll be fine.
Right.
Like, yeah, no,
Right.
you might do that and you might end up killing yourself, especially if you got like an infestation of bad bacteria in there and you don't know what you're looking for or looking at. Or if
Yeah.
it molds, I can imagine it molding too.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to make my own sauerkraut with a friend, and I think he ate it. But I took it home, and I was just afraid. I'm afraid of the bacteria stuff. That's one thing. I make my own crazy cubes with sprouts and fennel and mint and wheatgrass and lemon, but I'm not touching the bacteria. I just don't trust myself. I'm scared. I'm afraid to do it wrong.
Now, I hear a lot about sprouts, and I don't actually know much about why sprouts are beneficial.
Well, it's like micronutrients, right? So we have like, it's almost like, I'll think of it like all this nutrition packed into the little sprout. It's kind of like a seed, right? So the seed of oranges has all like a lot of the information needed to make the orange, whereas the orange is more watered down. You know what I mean? So I just think of it as like micronutrients, a lot of nutrients packed into those little sprouts, whereas a leaf of lettuce would be more spread out in the nutrition. That's
kind of like an egg yolk, but for
kind of
plants. Like
similar.
it's all this compacted nutrients to allow the plant to then grow into a full plant that
For
you through
illustration purposes and like creating analogies to explain it. Yeah, and also sulfur. Sulfur helps with the methylation process, I believe, the detox process, which is very important for health. We have to methylate properly, and having a little bit of sulfur in our diet is very important. So the allicin family, onions and garlic and sprouts is very key for your immune system, and it's also for cognition. I read a bit about the power of sprouts for cognition, and maybe it's placebo effect again, but whenever I have sprout water, I do feel like I can deliver information better. And I've only slept maybe 4.5 hours, and I usually need like 8 or 9. I'm okay. I think it's helping.
Yeah. I struggle with that. I struggle with sleep has been big for me. And what has helped me recently was I started doing the On It Total Human supplement pack, like, and they have a day pack and a night pack. It's just easier for me. Like, I have too much I'm working on. I don't know enough about it. I'm not educated enough in the subject to like. That's why I like having people like you on, especially because like you can explain to me all these things. Like I'm not an expert in any of this at all, by any means. But they package their supplements a little bit differently, and rather than throwing vitamins at you that aren't necessarily going to be bioavailable, they put a lot of stuff in there. Like there's spirulina and chlorella capsules. There's, krill oil instead of just basic fish oil. There's, you know what I mean? There's and all their patented like On It blends, like Alpha Brain and New Mood and stuff like that. Which is basically just from like.
You take this for nighttime? There's a nighttime one?
There's an AM pack and then a PM pack. So the PM pack will help you wind down and go to sleep. The AM pack helps you be active. And I definitely feel a difference. And it's not like there's a burnout either. I just generally feel better, and it allows me to sleep. I've always had problems sleeping throughout the night. And sleep is tremendously important, especially for recovery and for just even if you're grinding, your brain and your nervous system need to recover too. So like if you're a student and you're pulling all-nighters all the time, like you will burn out and you won't remember your stuff. I did that to myself, like I definitely like had some burnout from school and forgot a lot because I was very proud of how much I was able to accomplish in a few months. Like I graduated, tested for my black sash, and took my state massage boards the same week.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So, like,
how much Concerta were you taking?
None. I stopped. Yeah, absolutely none. Just coffee and the occasional rain. The pre-workout canned energy drink. Yeah. Not good. Not good for you. But I definitely drank those.
Kind of like legal Adderalls.
Yeah. No, I just powered through it. But I definitely had burnout from it. Because, you're in the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you're going to class, and then you're going to work, and then you're going to teach, and then you're going to train, and then you're going to, constant go. And now you do have a very go lifestyle, and a lot of people do what would be one, a lot of people have that, a lot of people have this lifestyle where they feel like they can never relax. And even in quarantine, people are now home and afraid. So how do you deal with the stress? What would be a tip from you to deal with that heavy stress and heavy anxiety of always having somewhere to be?
Yeah, I vacillated in life between times where things are slower and today things are crazy. It's like get up at 5, go to a set, do makeup, speak with you. 4:30 deadline for writing a commercial. I haven't even started. And then also getting to an audition, which is really not an audition because they already basically told me I have the role. I just have to pick which role, I guess. So that sounds really cocky, but that's a crazy day, right? So that's a lot. It's a lot of people. And then you have to look the right ways. I have to make sure that things go well. So today I'm just focusing on not putting any type of bullshit in my body. That's a big helper. Like if I have, for me, and many people I know, if I have bagels or pizza, that'll shut me right down. I had a roll last night. Maybe that's why I'm a little foggy. I did that on purpose. By the way, it's a weird thing to do, but I had a roll from a party and I ate that intentionally so I can go to sleep because it just knocks me out. So that's one thing you could do. Just have pizza, roll, or bagel, and you'll come right down. I had that with potatoes and rice.
The
So I'm
carb
still a little
crash.
foggy.
Yeah, the carb
Yeah,
crash.
maybe
Yeah.
that's why I'm foggy right now, because if I have a roll or pizza the next day, I can't think straight. So today, no nonsense. And a really simple rule of thumb would be keep what is useful, discard what is not. So that goes with text. If anyone texts me, someone just called me on the way here. He's not relevant to today, so he'll get a call back tomorrow or the next day because I just can't add something else. So prioritization is so important. Prioritization with people, your thoughts. If a thought comes in my head and it's not really relevant to what I have to do today, otherwise people are going to drop me or I'll get dropped from an ad campaign today
Right.
if I don't focus. Discard the thought. Comes in, okay, that's not really productive right now. I got stuck for an hour or two on a whole debacle with an article I wrote. It was just a mess and a whole situation. I'm like, you know what? We need to move on from this. We can't think about this any longer today because it's just not useful. So that's a big one. Just useful foods, useful people, useful thoughts, and it helps to prioritize so we don't have the wrong things coming in, wasting the day. That's a helper.
A lot of those concepts are very similar to what we refer to as the monkey mind in Tai Chi and Qigong. One of the principles we use when learning how to meditate and how to kind of that it's not the idea that you're clearing your mind, that there is no such thing as clearing your mind, but what it is you're learning how to sail through and focus on one thing, being the breath, which then helps you in turn do things like you're describing, staying on top of time management, staying organized, staying healthy. So many people in your situation would say, fuck it, I got to grab a cup of coffee and a bagel and I'm going to have a candy bar and a Red Bull on the way there. I'm going to make sure I'm, you know what I mean? Because I got to do this shit. And if I feel like shit, I'm not going to get it done. And then I'm going to do, So what do? You buy a 4-pack of Red Bull, you buy a 4-pack of Red Bull and you crush those. I did that when I was a mechanic. It would be like, well, I don't know how else I'm going to get through this, so I guess I just got to do what I got to do. And then you're eating food from the food truck, and then you're drinking Red Bulls all day, and then you feel like shit, But if you take the time to do things the way you're describing, which is very similar, very, very similar. Like, I know I need to fast in the morning if I want to be productive.
Right.
I know I need to fast. I know I will do better on an empty stomach as long as maybe that empty stomach has like some coffee with MCT oil. You know what I mean?
I did that.
Yeah,
Yep. I'm
exactly.
on that, and I have out today. Today's like more of a stimulant day. But guess what? Today's more of a stimulant day. And by the way, a little tip: if you add greens like the sprout juice, wheatgrass juice, greens powder to stimulants like coffee, it seems to up it. Same with grapefruit. You'll be even more up. It seems to have a synergistic effect. So that's a little tip right there.
That's pretty cool. I do have greens powders upstairs that I continually avoid. I'm always like, I got to take those greens powders, and then I forget to do it.
Well,
but
and remember, there's downsides to everything.
Yeah.
I have a cousin, he takes MAOIs. He's on prescription meds, and he says if he has wheatgrass with the MAOIs, so if someone's on MAOIs listening, you can get a little manic. He gets too up, so you can't really have that. Whereas for me, I'm not on that. So I like things that bring me up. But to balance it out, tomorrow is a spa day. Tomorrow's 4 hours in a spa and probably having Frankie massage us. So tomorrow's going to be chill for balance, because otherwise
Right.
I'll die tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did nothing yesterday. I knew I needed a day to do nothing. Jen
Right.
Jen and I literally like we like had some fun Saturday night with a friend of mine, and we slept in on Sunday. Yesterday we slept in. This will be out Friday, by the way. So we're recording on a
Mhm.
Monday. This will be out this coming Friday.
Okay.
And then after that, I'm having somebody on who, again, we're going to be talking about like how we as practitioners have dealt with COVID, which is going to be pretty cool. But yeah, we knew that we needed to do nothing, and we needed to do
Right.
it together. So like, because we both have crazy schedules, and then like during the week it's crazy because she'll show up to the school and then I'm the teacher. You know what I mean? So we
Mhm.
knew we needed a day to just like decompress and not do anything, and we just ate shit. Honestly, like perfectly honest
Right.
with you, like we just ate crap and didn't care.
Right.
Didn't care about it, didn't feel bad about it, just like whatever, and then like tomorrow, back on the horse. You got to know
Right.
how to enjoy and appreciate. Like, I'm so grateful that I was so good that now I get to take this day instead of being like, why can't I eat like this all the time? I wish ice cream was healthy for me. It's like, no, eat it knowing that it's shit for you, but it's delicious, and just enjoy the one time you get to have it that month or that week, however you're going to do it for you. What I was saying previously about the monkey mind is that that's how your brain kind of works. Like you get that text message and then you're like the monkey swinging through the jungle. You can choose whether to grab onto that branch and latch onto it, or to continue the motion and continue that swing from branch to branch through the jungle. So you want to overcome the monkey mind, and you want to keep it in motion. You want to keep it flowing and moving. And if a thought comes, you want to let it go and focus on the breath. And that's how we first train in meditation. Yeah, that's how we first train in meditation. And again, it helps you get through your day and to make healthier choices, which I think, people are more informed. We have calorie listings on our fast food. We know calorie listings everywhere. Nutrition facts are available online. You now more so than ever can know exactly what you're putting into your body. And I feel like people find the information so unbelievably overwhelming that they don't look into it. And also we as a society, I don't know if it's just Americans, but we as a society are very emotionally attached to our ideals and the way that we take care of ourselves and what we believe is healthy, or what we believe is the right way to do things, or what's moral. And this is now bleeding out into so much more than just self-care and fitness and nutrition and stuff like that. It's now part of the fabric. Is you can't say anything without somebody acting emotionally, whether it is irrational or not. If it doesn't fit into their world, doesn't fit into their viewpoint of what's important or what's relevant, people often can snap back or get angry because you disagree with them. Like how many arguments have you heard between hunters and vegans? And they're both very much so. I know both very much so believe their viewpoint is the correct one. And
Mhm.
facts and research go out the window, and people tend to research to make their point. You find an article that proves your point and you stop there instead of looking at every side and kind of coming up with it on your own, which is also why I think somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about, like you, is important to at least be following, to at least have people in your feed, because this is why, like, I start everything with everybody's Instagram, because what are we on all day? We're on Facebook and we're on Instagram. That's the first thing I check when I open my phone, It's the first thing a lot of people look at when they open their phone, or they don't know what to do. Let me see what's up on Instagram, and just mindlessly scroll. So if your feed is bullshit, then that's what you're putting into your brain. If your feed is positive and good information and educational, then every time you open your phone, it's going to be educational. I went to Jen when we started dating. I was like, go ahead, take my phone, look through my Instagram, find a
Wow.
butt on my feed. Go
Ah,
ahead. If
right.
there's a butt on my feed, there's usually a bar on their back. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I detune from all of that
That's
shit.
good.
I don't
Yeah.
want the Instagram fit models that are basically Instagram porn stars. I don't need them in my feed. I don't need bullshit. I don't need partying. I don't need memes and nonsense. I want fitness information. I want massage information. I want physical
Mhm.
therapy information. I want nutrition information. I want all that kind of stuff. And I love the fact that I was able to, I'm very grateful and appreciative. I know you have to go, so I'm very grateful and
Yeah, we
appreciative
could do
of,
we could do another 10 minutes
but
if you like.
still, still,
Yeah.
I'm very grateful and appreciative of you coming on today and letting us, talk about and share your Instagram and your website. And I know that you don't advertise it. We had talked about that you don't advertise the book that you had written,
Right.
but
Right.
there,
Well, yeah, it's a work in progress. It works. I just gave 2 new copies out in the last 2.5 weeks to 2 new people, and the clients are doing very well. But it's just, yeah, I'll never sell the book to the masses. I have a list of everyone who has a copy just because it's so personal and it has a lot of information that may be seen as controversial. So it's kind of like my own personal thing. So I'd be happy to show you or give you a copy, but
oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
also people try to steal my information, so I'm like really protective over it.
Oh yeah, well I'm
But
sure you have to copyright everything nowadays, and just make sure your name's all over it, But absolutely, yeah, no, I would love a copy. That would be great. I would love to read through that. Oh, just made myself look like a crazy person. But
yeah,
yeah, no,
very weird.
I would love a copy. I would love to look through it.
What you were saying about the identities, a lot of people always, what are we without our identities? Many people, probably most, work so hard just to figure out who they are that if incoming information conflicts with their belief system and idea and visual of who they are, it's a shock. And that's really cognitive dissonance. We have these existing beliefs, then you have new beliefs that conflict. It's actually, simply put, painful for the brain. That's why I gave a talk on cognitive dissonance probably 5 years ago, just because we need to understand fully what cognitive dissonance is and try our best to circumvent and go around that. Otherwise, we're never going to change, because in order to introduce new foods, new belief systems, new ways of thinking, new ways of moving, new ways of breathing, we need to understand that we're going to be given new information. And on a neurological level, it could feel like the opposite of opiates. That's a very simple way that I describe this cognitive dissonance. So that's why we see a lot of people hold so strongly to these ideas, because it actually feels painful on a physical, chemical level. So of course people are going to react angrily. But I learned about this, I don't know, maybe 9 years ago, and I've just been more and more focused on saying, okay, I have these ideas, but let's always be open to being wrong. And let's know that on a psychological level, when people say something that conflicts with my beliefs, it might still hurt me, even though I'm aware of it. But when we're aware of how us primal humans operate, then we can kind of navigate around that a little bit more. But I don't think a lot of people know about that cognitive dissonance phenomenon.
I don't. I mean, I've heard it before. I've looked into cognitive dissonance, and I like that they use the word dissonance. Like as a musician, I was in heavy bands for years, and dissonance is everything in like metal and hardcore. Dissonance is everything. Dissonance is when two notes don't really go together, and the sound waves kind of conflict, and they make this like screeching or just uncomfortable. Dissonance was actually if back in the day, if the
Right.
church caught you using dissonance in your music, they would they'd kill you. They'd execute you if you were caught using dissonance, because it was considered, we jokingly call them horror chords. You know what I mean? Like all that,
Uh-huh.
like that's dissonance. So if you
Wow.
think about cognitive dissonance, you're talking about thoughts that don't quite go together, that create this disturbance in your mind, that create this uncomfortable sensation or this uncomfortable resonance within your own mind. So you're taking in information that challenges your current viewpoint.
Yeah.
I remember I had shared something that I think his name is Dinesh D'Souza had posted that somebody else had shared. It was like a chain share. Like someone shared something that I looked at it and I was like, I like that sentence. I have no idea who this man is prior to this day. I did not research his Twitter and go into his Twitter and look at every post that he's ever fucking made. And I didn't do any of that. I just liked what he had. I don't even remember what it was. It was something about like, don't be a bitch about coronavirus. You know what I mean? Like basically like long story short, it was like, don't live in fear about coronavirus and they're not telling you all the information. I agree.
Pretty controversial. It is
pretty controversial, but somebody who I love very much, and you're going to know who you are when you hear me say this, but somebody who I love very much messaged me, and we got into a little bit of an Instagram bout about, like, how can you share some right-wing fucking nuts, Trump supporting bullshit nonsense? And it's like, did he say anything? First of all, I'm not going there. Second of all, where in this sentence did he mention Trump? And this was my whole argument. I was like, just because he's a Trump supporter, now he's a bad human being. And that's how we think about it. If you don't agree with me, I don't give a rat's ass about why you don't agree with me. I'm just going to slate you with everybody else and do the exact same thing I'm accusing everybody else of doing, which is seeing a group and judging them by the group that they're in instead of based on the individual, which is exactly the problem that we're having in society for so many reasons that, again, not going there, but
oversimplification is one problem, and the lack of understanding about cognitive dissonance is another one. So if we could just stop overly simplifying and also get past the hump of cognitive dissonance, those two things would be huge accomplishments for society. Can we do that? Can I get an
amen?
I was thinking that, but I cut myself off. Thank you.
You're very welcome. But yeah, hallelujah. Exactly. 100%. Like, you can't trust the media, and you can't trust your fucking Google algorithm either. So if you're not careful about what you're looking at, and you're not careful about what you spend your time on, it's just going to keep showing you more of the same. So if you're looking at stuff that is of one opinion set, then everything that you see ultimately is of that. As far back as 10 years ago, I remember. I remember as far back as 10 years ago, I had seen two screenshots next to each other. Two people with different laptops on different, with their own search histories and whatnot, Googled Cairo, Egypt. That's all they Googled. And they got two very different first pages on Google. Two very, very different. One was like violence in the Middle East and all this XYZ, and the other one was like vacation spots in Egypt and look at the pyramids. It's because it's all based on what you're already looking at that it's going to show you. So whatever the belief system is that you're looking into, it's just going to affirm that belief system. So keep it confused and look at everything. I'm not saying hide yourself back, hold yourself back and only look at the things that you think are going to be good for you. I'm not talking from that like old school Christian mindset of like avoid sin and avoid putting bad things in, but like look into everything, understand the reality of the world that you're living in. And this is not a nice place. This is not a kind earth. This is not a kind place that we're living in. And sometimes kindness and being nice isn't going to solve anything. Sometimes we have to understand the hard truths of certain things, and that no, it's not fair. It's not nice. We can't save everybody. And we need to be smart about taking care of ourselves and be accountable for us and the people around us. You know what I mean? In self-defense, we talk about protecting the package. My teacher always talks about protecting the package, that we learn martial arts to never have to use it, but to protect the package if we need to. And the package is me, my girlfriend, her, like right now, my package is them, my mother, my brother, her nephew and niece, you know what I mean? Like they're
just have everyone wear jock straps and protect the package that way.
Wear helmets at all times. Wear helmets and cuffs 100% of the time. And mouth guards. Don't bite your tongue. But like that's who we train to protect. But that doesn't stop at self-defense. Those are the people who it's your responsibility and nobody else's responsibility, but your responsibility to look out for. That's on you. And you, as a village, as a team, take care of those around you. And that's community. And that's what we need more of. And we need to understand the responsibility of community and not just sitting in your house and fucking screaming at people on Twitter. I feel like that's a lot of what people do,
Oh, don't get me started on people that argue on the internet. Forget it. If someone argues on the internet, I won't not be friends with them in real life, but I look at that and I say, okay, I got to watch out for this person. Because anyone who's going to type more than 2 or 3 sentences to argue with someone, I'm sorry. Why? Just meet them in person. And I think some people don't like this because I even wrote this on a post one time. Just call me up if you really want to argue with me. Call me up.
For
I
real.
got one.
You have my number. Like,
I got one crazy set of messages from a real friend. I posted something about vitamin C, which there was a whole Rogan, I think there was a whole Rogan thing on vitamin C and the benefits. And
which,
there's
if
been
it
a
was
lot
on
of,
Rogan, that makes it real, but
right, exactly. That's why I mentioned it. So it's become real.
Right.
And it's really not that controversial, but it was just something about vitamin C helping your immune system. And I got like railed through private message. And I just said, listen, if you want to talk to me, you can call me. I'm not going to do this. I'm not doing this. And I got defriended and blocked. And of course, I was going to say something cocky, but I'm not going to do it.
Whatever, good riddance. Yeah.
He came back, and now he wants me to be on some album cover, and he's back around because he probably came to his senses like, wow, I guess Jen's really not losing it about vitamin C and not wanting to argue with me. But I mentioned this because that's kind of what society's come to, and a lot of people will drag you through that. Real friends will get in whole paragraph arguments with you if you engage, but don't engage. No.
Do not engage. Do not engage. It's not worth it. When somebody, here's how people should respond. Don't take their information and research it. And if you find out that information that they gave you in that comment, you either do the research and find out that it's true and that you were wrong, come out and admit that you were wrong. Or
totally,
if they're wrong, just ignore it and leave whatever it is that they're commenting on up and say nothing. Don't rebut. Don't come back at them. When people talk shit, you know what I mean? Like, my teacher's YouTube. He is a world-class martial artist, has fought all over the world, and every now and then he'll put some tips and tricks up on YouTube. And then there's always that one keyboard warrior that just like talks shit. Because in the martial arts community, there's like its own thing of people that just like, you see it all day long with like politics and COVID and vegan, not vegan health and blah, 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 blah. In the martial arts community, it's so ridiculous because like there's so many people out there that like, they're like 400 pounds and they're behind their keyboard. Like, I was a 6-dan black belt when I was 25. And it's like, what do you do now? You're 60 and you're living in, you know what I mean? Or just people who won't ever give you their information or send you a video back and then we'll just blast your stuff with like, that technique looks like shit. That would never work in the cage. That's not realistic. The other day we had somebody come on and be like, you're doing Kung Fu and you have 16-ounce gloves on. Like, that doesn't work. And it's like, bullshit, it doesn't work. Come watch it work, Like, so it's this same ideology of people that can't back themselves up, that just love to talk shit for the sake of talking shit. So how much of that is if that's happening rampantly in a very small community of traditional martial artists, maybe it's happening all over the place. You know what I mean? It's just, it's ego protection. It's ego protection. It's like, people think that they're not going to get found out, or they're not going to get questioned, or that they're going to be, held up by the people who agree with them, and that's going to make them feel good because, you're a good person now because you stood up for somebody in a comment thread on Instagram. You know what I mean? So now my righteousness is now validated because I said I liked something or like said fuck you to somebody. You know what I mean? And I think it's hilarious that people can hold themselves up on their righteousness while talking smack about other people. You know what I mean? Aren't you supposed to love thy neighbor?
Pretty deranged and sad world we live in, but I will say, I do pay attention to the people that try to argue or try to slam things, because I'm a big believer in always asking self, am I the asshole? Am I the one being dumb? Am I misinformed? I always ask that first and try to analyze and see, okay, maybe I don't know about taxes. I don't know about jujitsu. I don't really know that much about a lot of things. So it's always good to self-examine and then go from there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not like everybody who says anything that I disagree with, I'm going to disagree with them. That's not the point. The point is to not react to it emotionally, and that if it is information you weren't aware of or something that you don't know about, then look into it. look into it before you react emotionally or yell back at them. We react too much instead of responding. You know what I mean? And people treat that, and this fast food, instant gratification culture that we're in has now spiraled into every facet of our lives. And we talked about not oversimplifying, but this is something I feel like we can kind of simplify. This instant gratification culture is a big problem because people don't have to work for anything. The information is at your fingertips, you know? So anything that requires effort suddenly goes out the window. It's not something that we want to talk about or think about or put effort into, you know, and taking care of yourself and doing the things like you're doing. Like, so you had all that stuff that you showed us before. You prepared all of that stuff so that you would be ready when the time came.
Right.
That took effort, work, and time.
It did.
For a lot of people is too much because, again, we have a negative emotional attachment to putting the work in. You know what I mean? So we have to, so putting the work in becomes this thing of like, how the fuck long do I have to do this before I see results?
Yeah.
And it's like, just love it. Just enjoy it. Just take a step back and relax.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to put something in your system immediately or make some change that causes immediate changes so you get a little taste and you're like, ooh, I want more. But I will say back to what you're saying about, you know, the information's all there, it's all at our fingertips, but you know what? There's more information and misinformation than ever. And that's a big reason why I wrote my guidebook and why I do counsel clients is because, of course, I could have a lot of opinions that could be wrong, but I try to teach people all different conflicting theories that can work. You know, veganism can work, levels of keto type things can work. But there's so much misinformation out there that it can take you, it probably took me 32, 33 years to figure out what I think is a good plan and to really get clients very good results in one session. Because there's so much bullshit out there. It's really hard to figure it out. So unless you want to get a full-time job of weeding through information and making yourself a lab subject and making other people test subjects and going to conferences and taking jobs and internships, it really took me 8 years as a professional, and then probably 15 years before that of study just to figure out what the hell works to get more energy, because I was so tired, or to work to get rid of food cravings, or, you know, binge eating disorder, or insomnia, or there's so many different things I've struggled with, or just depression. So yes, the information's there, but I'm not gonna fault people. People do have a little bit of an excuse because there's so much to weed out, and there's so much conflicting info that for the average genius, even if you're a genius Mensa, it's so hard to know what the hell to do nowadays and what's right. The market is beautiful. It's unbelievable. Well, you know, I dealt with a lot of people, and I have a lot of compassion, and I dealt with a lot of smart people that just don't know so many things. You know, people that know way more about business, for example, than I know, and they know nothing about nutrition. They're so confused. You know, my dad's a dentist. He has 13 specialties. He's very smart, and people I met him have said, "Oh, he's like a genius of some types." You know, he's a little funny. He has quirks like geniuses do, but he's now 66, and he just lost 20 or 30 pounds, and is still learning. And he's been so misinformed for so many years.
Yeah, and that's got to be even more difficult because now you got to break him out of the old habits. You got to break him out of the old patterns. You know what I mean? Then the longer, like, it's, your mind is the same as your body. You know, like, I have an injury and I wanted to train tonight, and my teacher's like, don't train tonight. He's like, take the night off because you're not 22 anymore, and that's going to become a permanent problem if it develops scar tissue. You need to heal it properly. I had a little muscle tear. And
no one to rest.
Well, I'm sorry?
No one to rest.
Yeah, no, exactly. No one to rest. So he tells me that, but now at the same time, like, the same thing happens to your mind. Like, you spend so much time callousing your mind into these thought processes and into these beliefs, and you make these neural pathways. And that's the only way your brain can figure out how to route the information, you know? So it takes longer. So open-mindedness really is the key. And I see exactly what you're saying with, you know, I wasn't saying that, like, you have to know everything and you have to be a genius, you have to be an expert in every field, and you have no excuse because the information is at your fingertips. What I am saying is that if you are interested in something, you have no reason not to look into it. you have every avenue at your fingertips to find all the information that you could possibly want or know where to go, which is why people like you are such an excellent resource to have, you know?
I try to stay very open-minded, and also, I'll use my dad as an example because he doesn't really mind, but he's right a lot. I would say, I don't know, lately, maybe not, but I would say in my lifetime, probably 9 out of 10, 90% of the time, he's
Mm-hmm.
right about so many things. He was back in the day when I was a kid saying sunscreen's bad for you. Butter is good for you. The wine studies are bullshit. All these things, those three things alone, I've heard from a little kid. I'm like, he just wants excuses to not use sunscreen and eat butter. But we found that it was true. But my point is that when someone is so intelligent and they're right most of the time, it's going to be very hard for them to take in new information and try something new that goes against their beliefs, and also maybe to take orders from someone else and take advice when they're the one giving advice. There's people that are in charge, or CEOs of companies that are right a lot of time and giving orders. It's very hard for them to maybe shift habits because they're the one used to being right. So they're like, well, I know everything to do. You probably heard this too. Oh, I know everything to do. I'm just not doing it. That's why I'm not losing weight, or that's why I'm addicted to this food or something. And they really do think they know everything. And these really smart people who are in charge and leaders, those are the ones that are hardest to break out of their habits.
I'm one. I get it. You know what I mean? Like I get that. I fight that constantly because you feel it coming on. You spend a week. I'm teaching private lessons. I'm teaching classes, and I'm doing XYZ, and then you get this like, oh, I'm, this thing in the back of your head, that's your ego creeping up and being like, you're the teacher, you're the one with the information that people want. And you can't let that bleed into everything else, especially when you're in charge. And I spent a long time as a manager too. So I would go to work and I was the boss, and then I would go to the school, and then my teacher was the boss, but I was the next one down teaching the class. So he was there to be in charge of me, but then I had everybody else. And people have let that go to their heads,
Yeah.
People let that challenge them. I'm sorry. People don't let things challenge them after that point because their ego is so heavily involved,
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot of that in the training, even nutrition, probably martial arts. I'm not familiar with martial arts, but the fitness community, producer community. That's why one of my parodies is making fun of producers and people in charge. It's always making fun of those people in charge because they're so full of themselves a lot of times. They're the biggest narcissists. They can't get out of their own way. And for parody, it's hilarious.
Yeah, a lot of the times people just they just get obsessed with themselves because they think that they've done this excellent job and they're the ones in charge, so it fluffs their ego. You know what I mean? It's like being a fat king, and like when you have the person paint the portrait, it's like, just paint the portrait of me like 20 pounds slimmer. You know what I mean? That's what people will remember, and that's it's about image rather than reality. So when you are challenged, it's difficult to admit that you're wrong about certain things. It's difficult to admit. For many, it's difficult to admit that you're wrong, and this also leads to, like, you ever had a terrible boss? It's just an absolute terrible boss. Where do you think
I'm
that
in
comes
the
from?
film
It's this
industry, so
mentality.
I deal with arrogant, truly textbook narcissistic, womanizing, adulterated directors and producers all the time. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. I'm sure it gets crazy. It's
Mhm.
amazing it's amazing the lengths that people will go to feel like they have power.
Yeah, but what I will say, I was just talking about this on set, is that to do great things, maybe to run a big company and to be on a film set, maybe to train tons of people and be in charge, but to do really great things, I'd say to make a movie, which is an outlandish thing.
You have to be
Uh,
selfish.
I do think that you have to have a little touch of narcissism. I talk about this with a previous mentor and my dad, that I think that you have to have a little touch of these visions of grandeur and this feelings of self-importance to get anything done in the world. Because people I see that don't really feel important or worthy that they can do something unreal and create miracles, they're not getting anything done.
Yes, and trust me, I mean, like, look at me. I'm the host of a show, and I'm posting myself all the time, and I'm putting my shit out there constantly. Like, I get it. I have it. I know what you're talking about. I do have that touch of narcissism. I do have that touch of self-importance. My brother makes fun of me. My brother makes fun of me all the time, all the time. But at the same time, I do know that I need to keep it in check. You know, I remember when I was in my early 20s, I was in a band. I was like 19, 20 years old, and I joined. It was remember the Crazy Donkey? No, it was on. It used to be this big venue on 110 called the Crazy Donkey in
I lived in
Huntington.
DC for 10 years, so I
Oh,
really
okay.
didn't
So
know
yeah.
about it.
So this, okay. So you probably missed the whole. It was only open for like a few years.
Okay.
But it was where there were big shows there. There were, really popular bands would play there, and they'd have local bands. And I joined this band because it was a bunch of friends of mine, and I wasn't in the band yet. And they had already recorded an EP, so I learned the songs. So because the singer was playing, and he needed to just have a mic and do his thing. Excuse me. So I learned all his parts, and then I play in this band, and then I'm in this band for like a year, and then we're going to Massachusetts to play a show, we're going to Connecticut to play a show, we're going to Jersey, we're going to the city, we're going here, we're going there, and I fucking felt like I was the man, And I remember a few of my friends had like sat me down and they're like, we love what you're doing, and it's really cool what you're doing, but like you're not you anymore, and you're really acting like. You're really acting like somebody that you're not, and you're letting things go to your head. And I have to tell you, like, you're not that important. It's just you're in a garage band that's basically paying to play shows, because that's how it works in the beginning,
Right.
You're not, don't let it go to your head and stop being an asshole. And I really value that in my friends at the time, because I kind of never forgot that, I never forgot that lesson. So I've always checked myself, and I've always, and Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody's got a plan until you get smacked in the face. So I could be as good of a martial artist as I think I am. I could teach all these classes, and I could beat up the students that have been there for longer than me. But then my teacher at 50 years old will still kick my ass. So that's super humbling. So if he at 50 can still beat me, without having to try very hard, then I obviously have a lot more work to do if there's somebody out there who's still, after 40 years of training, still improving their skills, still working out every day. So that's humbling for me, that's humbling for me. And that keeps me in check. So I can have the confidence and know that I'm done with that thing. I can have the confidence and know that I want to be this person, and that I can be a beacon for good, and I can build this empire, this vision that I have of this empire that I want to build, that I can take the finance and the power that will give me and use it to help people, and know that, and have that be my intention, other than being like, I'm not important, no one's going to want to watch my shit, why would I start a podcast? If I start a podcast, people are going to think this about me. If I do this, people are going to think that about me. If I post this, people are going to say that. None of it matters. None of it matters. Everybody has that power, I think everybody has that ability, but they have to tap into it.
Very important to keep people around you who are faster, smarter, brighter, more successful, whatever that means, than you at all times, because they keep you in check. They always keep me feeling like, a little hungrier. I see my friends that run business. I'm not really business savvy. And it's like, wow, that's really inspiring to, hear about my friends' business ventures. And one of my friends just told me he pulled in $20,000 the other week, in a week. And I'm like, wow, that's so inspiring. You have so much more business success than me. And that's so cool. It makes me want to work harder and better actors. And then it's always good to have mentees, always have mentors, always have people that you mentor. And then I think that keeps a balance. I always try to have that, people up here, whatever here is, and maybe they're here in some levels, because, we all strive in different areas of the life, but that keeps you humble, working harder. And I was thinking about that this morning too, because, you work with indie people, and now that I've been acting and modeling for a while, like, you end up starting to know a lot of things that more than other people. And I was feeling myself maybe get a little demanding in certain areas. And it's like, oh, wait, make sure you don't come across that way. Check yourself. Stay humble.
Absolutely. I think that's a great place for us to close. I know you have to go write a commercial, and I have a couple things I got to take care of.
Commercial.
Yeah, those are very, you got to take.
So I don't pee in my pants. I was actually going to pee on the podcast. I figured out a way to do that without knowing, but I'm not going to do that.
I was going to say, like, maybe next time. I'd love to have you on again, but maybe go to the bathroom before.
Yeah.
Um,
I've done that on video calls with people and they had no idea.
Yeah, but let's not risk it on a podcast. That's going to be
Yeah.
out there forever. But all
Eh,
right.
c'est la
So,
vie.
yeah, right. Exactly. Who cares? It's human. Everybody does it.
It's
So again,
human.
your Instagram is at Jenelyse. That's JENELYSE. And then the other one for your business is at The Life with Genergy or
Both.
thelifewithgenergy.com. Both?
Yep.
Okay, great. And thelifewithgenergy.com. So Jen, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'd love to have you on. I'd love to have you on again. So if you ever want to pop back on, just give me a shout and we'll figure something out. All right.
Thank you for your brain droppings. Very interesting. It was good to talk to you.
That's a book by George Carlin. That's a really good read, actually.
Brain
Dropping.
droppings?
Yes, that's a book by George Carlin.
I didn't know that.
Well, now you do.
And also thank you for giving me some energy because I was really starting to fade and I thought I was gonna have to just take a nap. So you're very uplifting. So thank you
so
for
much.
positive energy.
As for you, thank you for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope to have you on again in the next couple of months. So have a great one. I'll be talking to you.
See you later.
Have a good one.
Bye.
0. All engine